In the book or the woods, you write that the work's a dramatization of a struggle between writer and book, where the book wanted to be an independent entity and the writer wanted to impress a critical and aesthetic agenda on the book. And you work that out in the book or the woods. And I'm curious how you also were working it out in your everyday life.
At some point, several years ago, I shifted from writing discrete poems. I was always interested in writing books, but my thinking of what a book is kind of migrated from, the poems that you wrote, just a collection, just putting together kind of the best poems or the poems you want to share, the poems that go together, and coming up with a meaningful sequence, to thinking about the writing of a book as having kind of conceptual structure or apparatus that you work within. So you come up with rule sets, you come up with themes, you come up with concerns that you're going to explore. And this book, writing this book, like I knew when I began working on it, I had a sense that I had a sense of its shape from the beginning, and I was sort of writing into that, and that book became what is presented in the collection as the prologue. So the first thing that was written is what is sequenced as the last book in this. So the Book of the Woods is made up of 4 different parts. One is called the book, one is called one is called the woods, and that's the main cycle, and that's what it starts with, those 3. There's some preface material, but we get into that. And then at the end of it is book 1, and book 1 is the prologue. That's the first thing that I wrote. A lot of it was written like actually on devices rather than longhand. Some of it was written longhand, but a lot of it was on devices. But I sort of wrote it in the cloud, which is a thing that I've been doing for a while. Trouble Songs wasn't written that way, but everything I've written since then, a lot of my poetry I write in the cloud. And there's something, I like that it's just kind of floating out there. I like that I can write on a tablet, on a phone, on a computer, and every time I open it, I kind of see the framing of it differently. But I also like that it's already in the world. It doesn't just exist like on this kind of one location. And that was something that I really got to work out in the Book of the Woods.
Wow, that strikes me as such an interesting insight, to note that when things are in the cloud, they're in the world, perhaps more so than when a sheet of paper is on a writer's desk. Whereas I think my prejudice would be to say, the cloud is this virtual thing that doesn't exist. But as you're saying, in fact, the literature of the cloud, the notes in the cloud exist somehow more really than other kinds of writerly materials.
Yeah, I'd call it a provisional and speculative public.